Welcome to Friends and Fiction. 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories. Novelists Mary Kay Andrews, Kristin Harmel, Kristy Woodson Harvey, and Patti Callahan Henry are 4 longtime friends with more than 70 published books between them. Together, they host Friends and Fiction, with author interviews and fascinating insider talk about publishing and writing, to highlight and support independent bookstores. They discuss the books they've written, the books they're reading now, and the art of storytelling. If you love books and you're curious about the writing world, you're in the right place.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Friends and Fiction Show. I am Patti Callahan Henry.
I'm Kristy Woodson Harvey.
I'm Kristin Harmel.
And I'm Mary Kay Andrews.
And this is Friends and Fiction, 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories to support indie bookstores, authors, and readers just like you. And I have to say, I've been watching the hellos come in, and every single person wrote, hello from freezing Cincinnati, freezing Connecticut, freezing Birmingham, freezing. Every single person put the word freezing in front of it. So we are all.
Kristin, we don't want to hear about your weather right now.
No, it's been in the 30s. It's cold.
Oh, it's cold for you too. I thought it was warm there.
Wow. So we are all snuggled up together.
Freezing
tonight.
Orlando.
Yep.
Freezing Orlando. So the 4 of us love being together and live with you for our January 2026 pick of the month, Skylark by Paula McLain.
Hey, if you're not with us already, we hope you will join our Facebook group, which is more than 320,000 members strong. Boom! Mind blown.
Ow.
So many. We'd also like to invite you to follow us on Instagram and YouTube and to subscribe to our Substack newsletter, which is full of awesome bonus content.
You can find out more about our community and all we have to offer at friendsandfiction.com for details on our show schedule, upcoming in-person events, and links to our merch store, our Substack newsletter sign-up, and the award-winning Friends and Fiction official book club with Brenda and Lisa. Their next book club discussion will happen the evening of Monday, February 23rd, when they host Vanessa Riley for a live virtual discussion about her new novel, Fire, Sword, and Sea.
I love that title.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. Vanessa Riley is the real deal. She's like a super engineer person. She's really a brilliant lady.
No, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. On this episode, we are so excited to welcome our friend Paula McLain to discuss her new novel and our pick of the month, Skylark, which was just released on January 6th. But before we talk to Paula, I want to ask all of you something. In this novel, Paula returns to Paris 15 years after her wild blockbuster, The Paris Wife. Is there a place or a time or a setting in your work that you find yourself returning to again and again, Mary Kay?
Not really. I sort of bounce around. I've written lots of books set in Savannah and on the coast and in Florida. But Road Trip is a real departure for me because that book starts in Savannah, where I have set several books, but it ends in Ireland, and a whole new destination.
I love that.
Awesome.
How about you, Kristy?
So in Summer State of Mind, I'm actually returning to a little fictional seaside town called Cape Carolina. That was the setting of my book Under the Southern Sky. And so that's been really fun to kind of get to revisit a little town that I made up and get to go back to it again.
And so many of your books take place on the coast.
Yeah, they're pretty much all like the North Carolina or Georgia coast.
Yeah.
And of course, Peachtree Bluff, I love to go back to again and again, obviously. But
Yeah. How about you, Kristin?
Oh, for me, as many of you know, it is Paris.
Yeah.
Today, tomorrow, always. Every time I write something that's not set in Paris, every time I move away from it, I feel that siren song calling me back.
I love
it's a
that.
city that lives in my bones. Meet Me in Paris, the one that comes out the end of this July, is kind of like finally like a love song to that city.
Oh,
I
it
swear,
definitely
Kristin,
is.
one day we're going to look up and you're going to be like, oh, by the way, I'm living in a flat overlooking the Tuileries Gardens. Call me later. Like, au revoir, you're going to say to all of us.
Will you get a guest room, please?
I know.
What arrondissement are you going to live in, Kristin?
The 7th, the 17th.
Of course.
The one right near the Eiffel Tower. That's
Hey,
it's
Patti,
where I lived when I lived there 20 years ago. Yeah.
Well, what about you, Patti?
I return again and again to the Carolinas, whether it's the coast or my next book in the mountains. But I've written 5 books set in England, and it, for me, Kristin, is a siren call. As I'm thinking about what to write next, I'm like, don't go to Oxford. I'm going to Oxford. I'm going to Oxford. Like, it's the same thing, right? You're just trying to. But obviously, Paris also calls to Paula. So everyone out there, just a reminder that this is a live episode. So please leave your comments and questions, and we will get to them as best as we can. And also, we are going to be having an after show. So stick around. We're going to be talking about our new year after we say goodbye to Paula.
Yes. Okay. So Patti, before we talk to Paula, I know you sent out a newsletter this week. I got it in my inbox personally.
Me too.
Ding.
With an announcement about your book tour. So can you fill us in?
Yes, I absolutely can. So in March, I'm going on a book tour for the paperback of The Story She Left Behind, which got a brand new sparkling cover that I absolutely love. And I have been missing these kind of events. The Story She Left Behind came out a year ago, and I have been missing being on the road and being at the events where we gather to talk about our lives and stories. And so consider this your very fancy engraved letterpress invitation to join me and some very special guests along the way, like Mary Kay Andrews, Kristin Harmel, Charlie Lovett, Colleen Oakley, and more. So just pop over to my website, which is just my name, and you will find all of the details there. Oh, Lisette said gorgeous cover. Thank you, Lisette. Okay. Now let's talk about Paula before we bring her on. Let's talk about her behind her back. So Paula is the author of the New York Times best-selling novels, The Paris Wife, Circling the Sun, and Love and Ruin. Her latest instant bestseller was When the Stars Go Dark.
She was born in Fresno, California in 1965. She moved in and out of various foster homes for the next 14 years. When she aged out of the system, she supported herself by working as a nurse's aide in a convalescent hospital, a pizza delivery girl, an auto plant worker, and a cocktail waitress before discovering she could and very much wanted to write.
She earned her MFA in poetry from the University of Michigan in 1996. Paula's essays have appeared in Town and Country, Good Housekeeping, Real Simple, the Oprah Magazine, Huffington Post, The Guardian, The New York Times, and elsewhere. She is also the author of the memoir Like Family, Growing Up in Other People's Houses, 2 collections of poetry, and her debut novel, A Ticket to Ride.
Her new novel, Skylark, was just released on January 6th. It's a GMA book club pick, an Amazon editor's pick, a People magazine pick, and so much more. In this return to our mutually beloved Paris, Paula weaves a mesmerizing tale of the city of light above and below, where a woman's quest for artistic freedom in 1664, intertwined with a doctor's dangerous mission during the German occupation in the 1940s, reveals a story of courage and resistance that transcends time.
Sigh, right? Well, Sean, can you please bring Paula on to join us?
Hey y'all.
Hey,
Hey, Paula. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here. You guys are so great.
We're thrilled to have you, especially on our live show. It's so much fun. So we're really excited to talk about this book. We've been talking about it amongst ourselves, but now we get to talk to you. So I've heard you talk about this book. I'm so lucky for years. And I know the deep research and the immersive Paris experience you had. So I can't wait for everybody to hear everything about it. So without further ado, in Skylark, you give us a transportive look at a side of Paris known to very few. the underground city that's a mirror reflection of the glories above. Now, in the novel, we see two parallel journeys of defiance, one an artist's quest for freedom in 1664 and a doctor's dangerous mission in 1940s. So if that's a little bit of what the book is about, of course, there's so much more. Is there anything to add? And our favorite Friends in Fiction question of all time, what is it really about?
What is it really about? It's about, I think, people being braver or being called to be braver than they imagined or ever imagined they might be. And I think it's about how any life, any mark we make, any decision we make, or even the people we love, those choices can ripple forward through time, even hundreds of years into the future, and touch another life or many other lives and change everything.
Beautifully said.
Beautifully said, and every single character exemplifies that. So it's not like one does this and the other does that. Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know I was going to go back to Paris. I didn't know I was going to tackle two disparate time periods. It's all, for me, the creative process is a deep mystery. I don't know where ideas come from. I just know that if I don't follow an idea, I'm kind of in big trouble. So, yeah.
Where did the idea to return to Paris come from, though? I mean, you obviously had such success there and clearly feel such a passion for the city. So was it reading something that made you want to return there? Was it traveling there? What
Well, I mean, like you, I love Paris. But the idea for this book came from a dog walk in Cleveland. I know, right?
Yeah,
Cleveland.
those go together. Dog walk in Cleveland.
Dog walk
Paris.
in Cleveland. Totally. Same. I was listening to a podcast, and Krista Tippett, I don't think she does it anymore, but On Being was like the OG podcast.
Yep.
And I listened to it for years. And then I would go back and re-listen to some things even after she stopped doing it. But anyway, she was interviewing the writer Robert McFarlane, and his book Underland had recently come out. And it is an investigation of underground spaces all over the world, like from ochre mines and diamond mines and to the quietest place on earth, which is several hundred meters below the earth. And then he told a crazy story of a journey that he took from one side of Paris to another, north to south, a journey that took 3 days because it was entirely underground. I know. And I heard that going, what?
Wow.
Because I'd been to Paris many times. I had been to the catacombs twice with my children. And I had no idea that the underground system was as elaborate and labyrinthine as this. But I went home and just went right down the rabbit hole the way that we do. Like, first thing I did was check out every possible book I could on these underground spaces. And I just kept thinking about what kinds of stories might touch that space. But Paris has been undermined for limestone and gypsum. That's what plaster of Paris is. I know, right?
Plaster of Paris.
Yeah, plaster of Paris. Since the 6th century, since Roman times. And everything we see above, all the monuments and cathedrals and all this awe-inspiring architecture that we know of as Paris, has been taken from below. And I just kept thinking about that too, about what it must have been like for those early warriors to do that, life-threatening, dark, difficult work to create something that they themselves didn't get to enjoy. Right?
Yeah, good point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the underground tunnels were just really incredible and just sort of really set the tone right at the beginning. And this is something that you said about the underground tunnels and catacombs in the book. There is a Paris you can't see under the ordinary day. Quarries cut long ago, stone taken to build the city above. I went down, not to chase the thrill, but to understand the city's bones. Down there, time doesn't vanish, it accumulates. Paris is famous for what it shows you, but I fell for what it hides. So for everyone out there, if you go to Paula's Instagram, you'll see some of the footage of her in the catacombs, and it's just absolutely, absolutely fascinating. So can you tell us a little more about these underground spaces and how they inspired you to write this story?
Yeah. So, like I said, 300, maybe I didn't say that, almost 300 square miles of tunnels. And it's always been a space of resistance and rebellion and refuge. So members of the French Revolution were down there. They wrote their names on the walls. There was a manhunt of Prussian soldiers underground, and you can see their names and dates on the walls. Sometimes they left messages to one another. Sometimes they wrote their mother's name. Sometimes there's just drawings or sketches. People have been making marks on walls since the beginning of human time, right? Graffiti, sometimes like these days, we think of it as messy or like something that mars, public places, bus benches, etc. But there's another kind of graffiti, which is, needing to write a reminder to anyone who might come later that you were there, like that you actually existed. And I think of that as a very poignant thing. There were stories about how prisoners would be moved from one side of Paris to another underground, and they would whisper their names in the dark, right? I just loved thinking of that, of this subversive space where people were still meeting one another and making connections and looking for ways out when all the standard ways have closed down. And I just really felt, a mesmerizing kind of urge to find more stories. And so the first thing I did in this rabbit hole thing was, and Google doesn't usually work for me, right? I can't just like put in a bunch of, words and come up with a treasure trove of information. I love books. I love sort of like not quite knowing what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
This day after the walk, I sort of like said, Paris, underground, whatever, stories. And the first story that came up was this really, really good one, which inspired the World War II timeline of Skylark. There were two young psychiatric residents at Paris's oldest psychiatric hospital. It's called St. Anne's. It's been there since the 1300s. It's in the 14th, and it's also a place that's heavily undermined. And they were exploring one day in some time off that they had down in the corridors under the hospital, and they saw a wrought iron gate that was open. There was a padlock on it, which was also open, and they pushed open the door and soon found that they had discovered a hidden entrance to the tunnels. So they started exploring, and they felt like they had like won the lottery. Here was this unbelievable, Disneyland space that was theirs. They started mapping that territory because, they were afraid they might get lost. And it was just this, like I said, it was just this private adventure. And then the occupation happened. The Germans took France, and the Nazis took Paris. And suddenly that space became even more important to them because it started to feel like maybe the only place they could actually be free. And then one day they discovered a Nazi bunker, and it really terrified them. And they just started thinking about what the Germans might do with that space. And so they sped up their mapping efforts, and they found a way to turn their maps over to the French resistance. This is a true story. Later, those two doctors won the French Medal of Honor. These are just two young men who just opened the gate one day. So I love that because the liberation of Paris was actually, plotted from underground because of these two guys. And later, one of those doctors became the first neuroscientist to map the brain.
Oh, wow.
Chills. It was just like, what? The labyrinth of the human mind and the labyrinth of the tunnels and the ways that history twists back on itself. Like all of it just seemed fully loaded to explore in
Yeah.
a novel. And that was like this whole storyline. And those, I had never thought about writing about World War II until I found this story. It was the tunnels that led me to that storyline. And then wanting to know more about Paris Underground led me to the second story.
Right.
So it wasn't wanting to write about Paris. It was sort of like this happy accident. But that's how our work is. I love it.
Yeah.
That's the mystery of our work.
Yeah.
It just is.
Both timelines in Skylark explore how our bodies and minds can be controlled by outside sources. Oh, very timely topic, huh?
Very timely, I know.
Yeah.
It's a bit of that going on, yeah.
Yeah, from the asylum to euthanasia programs to the hard labor of stonecutting to conventions of the era that prohibit women from working and expressing themselves in art. Paula, would you talk about how your characters fought against this control in different ways?
So, yeah, I mean, it's not an accident that I pit my characters up against these forces that try to dominate, control, coerce, annihilate them. I really wanted that, first of all, that parallel to be there because, like, the thrust of the book from the very beginning was wanting to show how history repeats itself. I mean, history does repeat itself, right? 300 years pass. We think there's been progress, and yet the forces that are trying to exert this control, they might wear different masks, have different faces, speak a different language, but they're essentially the same, and they require the same kind of moral courage or fortitude. In Alouette's time, what she's searching for is creative freedom, right? She's searching for a world that doesn't exist. And, the fact that, so she's this young woman, her father is a master dye maker. She longs more than anything to make color herself, and she can't do that. So how she fights is by leaning into color and beauty and nature and dreaming her way toward a future that she can only imagine. But, she doesn't know if she'll ever touch it. So, that's her life. Her whole storyline is really determined by what she will or will not do in search of creative freedom.
Yep.
Yeah. So her storyline is very different from Christoph. He's this young doctor. He befriends a Jewish family in his apartment building. And that attachment, getting close to that family and wanting to protect them, then comes to define his choices and actually the rest of his life. And you'd think that these two storylines, 300 years apart, don't have much to do with each other, but what they have to do with each other is Paris, So both narratives take place in one neighborhood, but actually on one street. It's like the same street. So it's this drilled down look at how lives can touch in, spatially, right? Instead of in time. And their lives do touch in many ways, but they're mostly thematic. There's no character that comes forward that makes anything neat or plain to us. There's no modern character who solves the puzzle. It's a kind of a subtle weaving of two threads.
I remember talking about it with you when you were writing it and the description of like time being cake layers, right?
Yeah.
And how in this space, these two things, if we think about time, in many ways, along with many, many other layers, are happening at the same time because themes are repeated, struggles are won and lost. And in this one block and in this one city and in these catacombs, they're still fighting for the same thing, but in different stories.
Right. No, that's exactly it. Around the same time that I discovered these tunnels and started researching them, I was reading Maria Popova. She has the newsletter. It's called The Marginalia. It used to be called Brain Pickings. And I think she does beautiful, beautiful work. But on this day, she had written about Thich Nhat Hanh. As a young man, he was in New York. He was at Columbia University in a library, and he took a book off the shelf. And it was a very old book, and it only had been checked out 2 other times. And he's standing there holding this book, realizing that his life is connected to those other 2 lives in space. but not in time, meaning that they had stood there where he was standing. They had reached for the book. They had put the, they had been drawn to it, for their own reason. But that their lives were connected. And I started to think that that was the story that I wanted to tell, right? I mean, can't you stand on any street corner anywhere, but particularly an old city like Paris that seems to be whispering stories, right? You can touch a wall. Don't you ever have that metaphysical experience of like touching a wall or stepping into an old building, or realizing, in this cafe in Paris, for instance, where Ernest Hemingway wrote, it's like, oh my God, that's the same marble table, right? Yeah. These are the same tiles. This is the same wicker chair. Like, it's the same space. And whatever happens, I don't know, energetically, I sometimes think we sort of are all here together.
All happening at the same time.
Energy just swirls, right?
Yeah. I think about it in like old house. I mean, I live in a really old house. I think about it, and I think about it a lot, like in the houses, like the stories that are like held in these houses and the people.
Yeah, right. That story, that space
in a smaller, like more basic.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That spaces hold stories.
Yeah,
I think that's true. Yeah.
And ghosts. I have a ghost.
Well, hopefully.
I totally have a ghost. Okay, Paula, you knew this, but for my 50th birthday, I visited Paris and spent the morning of my birthday at Notre-Dame with my daughter. And I remember watching years later the cathedral burn on TV and feeling viscerally affected by it, because it was the place I went when I woke up on the morning of my 50th birthday. Like, it's the place I went for quiet, and I wandered around with my daughter. And why did you choose that moment, the burning of Notre-Dame? What year was that?
2019.
In 2019. Why did you choose that moment to open your novel?
So the prologue, this is the prologue, and it came kind of late in the writing process for me. But one day I was thinking about Notre-Dame, and I was thinking about when it burned, how like the entire world kind of stood vigil, heartsick. And part of it for me is just this gutted notion, because I'm a history buff, right? Of what is held in those spaces. We were just talking about it, right? And then it's all destroyed. You can never have that back. Once it's gone, it's gone, right? 800 years collapsing as the world watches, never to be reclaimed. But then in the aftermath, the thing that was so powerful, and the thing that I wanted to write about, was how in the collapsing, because of that ruination, some things were discovered, beneath the destroyed things. They were sifting through the ruins and realizing some things that had been hidden for many, many hundreds of years that never would have been found except for the fire. And so that idea that there's a line in the book, it's like, what burns can still tell its story. Like, it can tell its story as it's burning. And sometimes when things are destroyed, that's just the beginning. And that gives me incredible hope for us in this current moment, for instance. But yeah, that for me was this profound idea that I wanted to have just kind of sitting there very lightly as the reader entered the book.
It's like a door into the story.
Exactly.
I happened to start the book the day that they all know this, because I talked to them about it, because it was like so sad. But the oldest house in Beaufort is like a block from me, and it was built in 1723, and it burned down like the day before I started reading this book. And so, for the town and the state, I mean, just for the history of North Carolina as a whole, it's like this just incredible loss. And I remember reading that and feeling like, but maybe there is, like, wonder, maybe there is something that's there that they're going to find that, could be discovered in kind of the wreckage of that. It was a very interesting moment. It was like a very like soothing. I was like, I got to send a copy of this.
Well, no, it is. I mean, it's like, it's comforting somehow. That maybe nothing's ever really gone. I'm not sure. Right. Yeah.
Okay, this is such a sweeping novel, and we just fall for these characters. Tell us how this novel changed as you were writing, if it did, and Did you know from the beginning about these characters who would dominate the story, or did people move in and out of your lens as a writer?
Well, I knew the two prongs, Christoph led me into the story. And then the more I started becoming obsessed with Paris underground, I learned about this river, the Bièvre. It's central to the story. It is a river that still exists, but it's underground now. It runs perpendicular to the Seine, sort of past the Jardin des Plantes and into the Seine, but all underground. But in my character Alouette's day, it was at the center of her village, outside of the city walls. Right now, that whole area is 13th arrondissement. But back in Alouette's day, there's this river that was the center of dye-making culture, and it really was in France and in much of the world because of the mineral components of the water, right? So it's the limestone. It all goes back to the fact that France used to all be underwater, right, in prehistory. And so that led me to this whole, I don't know, like whole rabbit hole about dye-making, like dye-making culture, and the fact that this river is the source of great beauty, but in making all these beautiful things, the dye makers and all the other working, the crafts, the tanners and the butcher, the starch makers, all these people are and worksmen are, dumping poison into the river, which destroys it. And that kind of dark whisper, Alouette is sort of in a love-hate relationship with this river. And it was that everything's a surprise to me, right? It's like one thing leads to another. In Christoph's story, there was another big surprise. Like I didn't really know there would be another speaker in the story until very late in the game. And in fact, I remember when one day I was it might have been on another dog walk, and it occurred to me like, but the book wasn't that it wasn't working. It was that, I don't know, I just kept feeling that there might be something that was still missing. And I remember telling Patti, oh my God, I think I have to add another voice. And she's like, gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. But once you know it, like there's not much else you can do once you know it. And I had learned by reading autobiographical accounts of Jews who had survived the Nazi occupation of Paris, that during the 1942 roundups of the Jews in this bureaucratic loophole, many adolescents, thousands of teenagers were turned out onto the street. They were arrested, but then released if they were French citizens. And just that idea that, your parents have been arrested, your whole family is gone. Are you ever going to see them again? And also that you have no home to go back to, right? Because it's already been conscripted by the government and by the Nazis. And so that, once I discovered that story, I knew that Christoph couldn't tell that story. My 30-year-old Dutch doctor, that I needed to get closer to that point of view. And so the character of Sasha, she was a character, but she had no point of view until I gave her one. And then the minute I did, her voice came the fastest to me. That was a great surprise, and probably moved me more than any of the others in the book. She really got to me.
It's amazing. I love that. All right, we have so much to talk to you about, but live questions are rolling in. And listen, when I called you and said, I think I have to add a point of view, you didn't talk me out of it either. So. These are the things,
right?
Yep.
The work is the work. You just have to roll up the sleeves at that point.
Whatever the book demands of you, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's easier. It's never easy. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier than others. And then someone shows up with their point of view and you can ignore them all you want, but I'm glad you didn't ignore Sasha. Yeah. So we are going to dive into some of the live questions now. So Kristin, could you pick one?
Sure. First of all, I wanted to say happy birthday to Diane Clark, who a lot of our watchers a lot of our viewers are saying happy birthday to her. So happy birthday, Diane. Thanks for celebrating with us tonight. Yeah. Paula, Deborah wants to know, and I know you just talked about how Sasha came in and kind of ended up playing a bigger role in the story than you thought. But she's wondering, was there another moment during writing when the story surprised you or went in an unexpected direction?
Unexpected direction. Yeah. So once I added Sasha as a point of view, it occurred to me that Alouette's story might not need another point of view, but that there was an opportunity there. It's almost like a little window opens.
Yep.
And of course, it's always more work. Like, oh my God, what have I done? But I kind of like the idea of the symmetry. So when I was thinking about what other character might have something to add, she had a love interest in the book. I mean, his name is Etienne. He's a courier. I thought, well, I wonder what it would be like to explore that territory, that physical space through a character's eyes, So instead of talking about it, describing that space of the quarries more generally, that he would actually be dropped down this hole from the time he was 11 years old, to do this work in the dark, and what that means, for his own life, the lives of his family, and whether or not he can care for them before before he dies, which of course he knows he will. And then he falls in love with this woman who loses her freedom, and he doesn't know if he'll ever see her again. So he ends up being kind of heartbreaking to me. And he is a keeper of the faith, like he pines for her when she's incarcerated, and he carves skylarks for her that he hopes to give her one day. The name Alouette actually means skylark in French.
Oh.
It's why there's a bird on the cover, in fact, too. And if someone asks me a question about going down into the tunnels or the catacombs, I might talk a little bit more about why there's a bird on the cover.
That's amazing.
Well,
there's a Johnny Mercer song called Skylark.
Yes.
It's a beautiful song. And Johnny Mercer was from Savannah, and in the cemetery there, Bonaventure, the Mercer family plot, there is a marble bench with the music for Skylark.
Oh, that's cool. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love
well, we have actually had several questions from people wanting to know if if this was always the cover, how you chose the cover. And then Barbara Wojcik said, how did you come up with the title? Which maybe we now know, but was that always the title?
That was not always the title. I named it Skylark, and I named Alouette because of Skylark. But the reason I wanted a bird emblem and why I thought Skylark would be a fitting title is because when I was doing research about the tunnels themselves, there are carvings and messages and drawings and sketches that have been there for hundreds of years. And I kept seeing photographs of those carvings and markings. And I found a book that was entirely photographs. It's called Paris Underground. And it's just a visual, history of graffiti, basically the graffiti that's down there. And some of it's very modern, crazy paintings and stuff, but some of it is really just people writing names on their walls, on the wall from the 1700s, etc. But I kept seeing this symbol of a bird, and they were called Liberty birds, according to my research. Sometimes the photographs look like peace doves, with an olive branch. Sometimes they look like pigeons or crows. Sometimes they look like they were drawn by a seventh grader, because people are making these marks with like stone, right?
Yeah.
But they were apparently directional markers, and that the early couriers had made, and the beak was supposed to point the way out. But I just kept thinking, well, why didn't they make an arrow on the wall? Like, why would they draw a bird? And then it occurred to me that if I had that kind of job, if that was my life, down in the dark, endlessly, that I might draw a bird on the wall too, right? Like, I don't get to see the sky, but I want to know the sky exists. And when I finally got to go down into the tunnels myself, which was quite an adventure, because it's this illegal thing to do, and I didn't know if I would ever find anyone to take me down there. I did see in the 6 hours that I was down below 3 of these Liberty birds, and just that idea of like touching what was made by somebody and wondering what their story was, right? What their lives were like and what that meant to them too. That's profound to me. It was just this profound experience, and this idea that, like I said to you guys privately before the show, there's this idea that like any mark that we make, like any mark any human makes, can ripple forward through time and touch another life. And there I was doing that. Yeah.
Something somebody drew all that time ago.
I know.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Mary Kay, you want to pick a live one? Oh, I'm sorry, Kristy. What were you saying?
Oh, nothing. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nothing.
Let me see if I
I
can
think
find
I was
one.
just agreeing. Like, yeah, it's just amazing to think that it's been there that long. I mean, talk about, kind of being in awe of something. Like someone stood there all those years ago. And
Yeah. I love that about old cities, how you can, like the Roman wall is there in places, the Roman arena, there are Roman aqueducts below the city. Like in old cities that don't erase their history, but build on them, as Patti was saying earlier, more like a layer cake.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. Somebody was asking, who's asking that? Eating buns. What part of this inspires you to read most, Paula?
Is she?
Yeah, you're freezing up. The question is from Edie Cohen, and it's, what part of Paris will inspire you to return to it?
Oh my goodness. I mean, return to it. That doesn't take any work at all. Like I'll return to it I'll return to it for the rest of my life. And when I was researching this book, I think I went 6 times in 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But in terms of writing about it again, I don't know. I mean, I don't work that way. So I wait for, inspiration to strike. I don't exactly know where my next book is set, or whether I'll write about Paris again, but I hope so. I hope a story speaks to me that is set there again. Yeah.
We hope so too, Paula.
Oh, thanks, lady.
So if you'll stick around, we have more to talk to you about, but we have a quick reminders for our listeners and viewers. So all of you watching and listening, we tell you and encourage you to rush out right this very second. Well, wait till the show's over and buy your copies of Skylark. The perfect place to do that is in the Friends and Fiction shop on bookshop.org. You'll not only be getting it at a discount, but all your purchases there support our show, our guests like Paula, and independent bookstores nationwide, which is why we started in the first place.
Definitely. And I also want to tell you about our newsletter on Substack. You can read all of our free weekly posts on the Substack website or app, or subscribe for free to get them directly in your inbox. But here is what the ask. Here is our ask. If you would upgrade to our paid Substack, which costs just $5 a month, you'll have access to deeper dives with all of our weekly show guests, like Paula, and you'll see Paula in the green room.
Yeah,
that's right. Plus, we run occasional roundtable discussions and regular in-depth interviews and features with some of your favorite authors, like the recent one we did with Lynn Cullen. So if you enjoy tuning in for our weekly author interviews, this is just a big way you can support us for like $1 a week. So check it out at friendsandfiction.substack.com.
Okay, Paula, back to you. So we know you were in New York on Pub Day and you appeared on Good Morning America and you got to make that big announcement. Oh, there we go. We have a photo of it. That's awesome. And that must have been such a thrill. Could you tell us a little bit about kicking off your pub week there?
Oh, it was so fun. It was so fun. I think Kristy actually was on the week before or something. And I was still trying to decide what to wear. And so I'm sorry, Kristy, but I did fully examine with a magnifying glass and having a long conversation about.
I could have just sent you like the dress if you liked it. We could have had like
it was a great dress. It was killer dress.
Yours was a great dress too. I fully examined yours also.
It was so funny because I thought you couldn't wear black, right? That there's certain things you're not be able, you can't wear on air, you can't wear black, you can't wear white. I guess red. For whatever reason, whatever looks strange. So, and then whether or not I was going to wear pumps or boots, like all of this, it all came down to the outfit. And I think it all came down to the outfit because otherwise you just start to lose your mind. Like, wait a minute, I'm going to talk to 6 million strangers. I have like 3 minutes and 44 seconds, and hopefully I will not lose my mind. And, I'm in menopause. My brain leaks intelligence, like as if it's a sponge, like leaks intelligence. Words fall out of my face. I'm in the middle of a sentence. I have no idea what I'm saying. Sometimes I just stop and say,
or that word, that word.
That word. But in the same way as being down in the tunnels, like my curiosity took over and I stopped being afraid of what that space was like or what danger I was in. Like there's this thing that happens whenever you're in a new space where I was just curious suddenly watching these sound sets and all of the, the people who are running all the lights and the whatever and the teleprompters and all of that entire world suddenly just chilled me out. It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where I'm nervous.
And the big booms are rolling in and then they're on top of you. And then it's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy and very cool and a very, very cool way to start a book.
Oh, yeah.
A launch. And
that's awesome.
Fun. It was fun.
Well, you did a great job. It was a great way to announce. And the no black on TV thing, I know. I knew that was like a big rule and I did it anyway. I was like,
and you did it anyway. I mean, what a rebel.
Winter, I only had there was very little notice. It was right before Christmas. It was like, I'm never going to be able to order something and get it here. So I'm just going to wear the black dress. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
And there you go. Well, it looks great with your hair. It did.
We know that you have been on the road for a couple of weeks already. But where else can we catch up with you on the road, and how can our community connect with you online?
Oh, thank you. So starting next week, I'm actually going to go out to the West Coast. So I have events in Healdsburg, and which is a very cool town, sort of near Sonoma, down near LA, in San Diego. I'm forgetting right now, but you can go to my website and also follow me on Instagram. And my tour is posted there. I'm just paulamclain.com. So yeah, please come see me. Yeah.
And I will chime in that everybody should follow you on Instagram, because not only will you have tour stuff there, but you have really cool backstory about the novel.
Thank you.
All over your Instagram. Good Morning America has done a couple cool pieces with you. You've done some. So I know everybody out there, when they're done reading it or in the middle of reading it, nothing is a spoiler on her Instagram, but you're going to want to hear all the backstory that she talks about.
Yeah, so it is a cool place to be able to kind of put stuff, right?
Yes.
Things you can't talk about in even moments like this. You can't really describe what any of that is like. Yeah, it is nice to be able to use social media as a way to kind of explore some of that process. I mean, I worked on this book for 3 years. Like a lot of things happen. You can't really distill it into a 20-minute conversation.
No, there's no way to get to all of it. Dearest Paula, thank you for joining us.
It was such a pleasure. I love you, ladies. I think what you do is incredible.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that you've been doing it all these years and that you really have formed an amazing community. So
thank you.
Well, our community loves you as much as we do. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Good night. Thanks so much.
Good night, Paula. Thanks, my dear.
Bye.
Okay, do not forget that the four of us are staying for an after show to catch up. And also be sure to tune in next week. We will all be together live again on February 4th to welcome Janie Chang to discuss her novel, The Fourth Princess, and Kate Quinn to discuss her novel, The Astral Library. That show will air live on the Friends in Fiction Facebook page and YouTube channel on Wednesday, February 4th and 7 p.m. at 7 p.m. Eastern. And it will be published to our podcast for your listening pleasure on Friday, February 6th.
Thanks to all of you for being here with us, and stay for the after show. And other than that, we will see you next week. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for tuning in. You can join us every week on Facebook or YouTube, where our live show airs on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram. We're so glad you're here.
Wow.
It's awesome.
That was a great show. I feel like Salt was crying at my door, so I had to.
Oh, you had to let him in. I feel like all of that could have been like 6 or 7 novels. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really could. I totally agree.
Like a whole series of Paris underground category.
Yeah. Like every generation, right?
Yeah, it's really of that block or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about your new year, because we haven't, just the four of us.
Yeah.
Well, we've chatted, but not on the show. So for me, it's New Year, same me. Nothing new is happening. But all of you have so much coming up. So let's talk about where we're headed in the next months and what you were up to over the holidays, Mary Kay.
Oh, what was I up to over the holidays? Well, we spent a good bit of time. We did a home-worthy Christmas shoot. So that was
cool. Everybody should watch it.
Yeah, that was kind of cray-cray. And all the holiday stuff, and then going into the new year, I started working on the prologue for my next book yesterday. And then the thing we all want to have happen as writers is last night, the book kept churning.
Oh, I want that.
Like I was questioning the names of the characters, and do I start this book? And at first I thought, I'll start it in 1986, which was the year my son Andy was born. But then I was like, no, because I wanted to use a rap song. And it turns out, that song, Whoomp, there it is. Whoomp, there it is. That song did not release until I think it was like 90.
That was the 90s.
Yeah, it was 96. So thinking about that last night, and, family stuff.
Love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
And you finished all your copy edits for the book that comes out on,
That's
tell us the
amazing.
date.
Yes, June 2nd, Road Trip comes out. We also took my grandson, my 14-year-old grandson, Griffin, and his best buddy, Harrison, not best buddy, but his close buddy, to New York for a whole trip, which, you can see that on Instagram. There is no joy like experiencing the joy of a teenager and their first time in a big city.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So cool.
They were not jaded at all. They were like, this is so tough. And tough was an adjective
Tough?
my friends used in the 70s.
No,
Tough is-
really?
Tough is back.
Oh yeah, no, I
I
know
never
Tough is
used
back.
tough.
I actually just got a new pair of boots, you guys, and I was wearing them, and little Will was like, "Those are tough," and I was like, "I have arrived." But this was like a few months ago, and it's the first time I heard him say it, and I was like, "Is that like a good thing or is that like a bad thing?" And he was like, "Oh no, it's good," and I was like, "Oh my god, yes!"
That's awesome.
I think tough is the new sick.
Or
Oh,
cool.
that's funny.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I'm going to use it and sound cool.
Yeah.
I think you will sound cool if you use it. I think that's how it will go.
That's how it goes. Or people are going to go, what? All right, Kristin, tell us what you've been up to and
What's
where
been
you're
happening?
headed in the next month.
All I'm thinking is like somebody saying like tough luck. Like it's
Or like tough.
sounds like
No.
Tough,
What you do is you go,
SHIT.
oh my God, did you see that guy over there? How tough is he?
Oh, all right.
He's tough.
I'm going to start using it all the time for everything. So Noah's embarrassed to be around me.
I think all of you guys are tough, by the way.
No, not. We are so not tough.
I think
my boots are tough though.
Your boots are tough. Your boots are tough. Okay, so me over the holidays, just nothing like just a usual holiday. We went down to see my in-laws. We spent some time with my mom. We spent our usual time at Disney. And I know I've told you guys, but we got to see Sean at Disney.
Yeah, Sean came to Disney.
That was just last week, which was so much fun. And yeah, it's been, I feel like it's been.
Sarah McCoy came to Disney.
What's that?
Sarah McCoy
came to Disney too. Yeah, it's awesome. This is the place to be, you guys, right?
Hobby.
Yeah, so that's been great.
It's a tough place. It's a really
It's tough.
It's tough. It is tough. It's the tough place to be.
It's
But
sick.
yeah,
it's groovy.
I don't even know how it's the end of January. Like how are we done with the 12th of the year so far? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And tell us about what you got coming up in the next couple months.
Meet Me in Paris comes out at the end of July. But prior to that, I should be turning in a new book, which would be nice if I'd written more than the prologue so far. But I have not.
Turning it in, not working on, turning in.
Oh, I think it's supposed to be turning it in this summer. I'm not sure.
Oh my God. I need that glass of wine I didn't have. Oh my God.
I know, but I have a research trip planned in March, which will be really fun. And I will do it. It's just I've been so caught up with working on a couple of film scripts too. It's just eating all my time. So I think my New Year's resolution needs to be better at time management. I'm working on it.
You got a lot going on, love.
Yeah.
How about you, Kristy?
Holidays are great. We were here and then we were leaving to go on a family friend ski trip the day after Christmas, but I was on GMA. So I went to New York to be on GMA and sent the boys to go on the ski trip. And they had a really fun time and I had a really fun time and that was great. And then we came back for New Year's and then we just spent like a week in Palm Beach, which was awesome. Because Will had this like not unexpected, but he had this January break that he doesn't normally get. So that was fun. But yeah, I've just been working away. I have a short story coming out with Amazon. It's exclusively on Kindle and Audible. It's coming out March 1st, but it's available for pre-order. It's called Leave It Up to Love. So if you need a little something short and sweet, check it out. And my paperback of A Happier Life is coming in April, and then Summer State of Mind in May. And I'm making a fun announcement February 20th. So stay tuned for February 20th announcement. But yeah, I've just been working away and lots of good stuff. And it's basketball season. So if you follow me online, you know that all I do is go to basketball games for Will now. And I'm like obsessed with them. We all are. It's like a town obsession. Like I tell these ladies all the time, you can't sit down. Like there's nowhere to sit. Like if you don't get there an hour before the game, you will be standing in the doorway. And a lot of times if you're standing in the doorway, you have to leave because there are too many people for fire code. He's in middle school. Like it's the wildest thing I've ever seen.
It's amazing.
I've never seen.
Well, did they win tonight?
Yes. So we're undefeated season. So that's part of the reason for all the fun, but they come anyway. So it's great. But yeah, undefeated season so far, which is crazy because our school is really tiny. So, and last year was a fully undefeated season. So we're like, fingers crossed, but the competition is tough in the other way this year. So we'll see. It's not tough, good, tough. It's tough, hard.
It's hard, tough.
Yeah. And Patti, hello. Let's talk about the new member of your family.
Yeah. So the holidays were so much fun. Same here. We had a photo shoot at the house because I'm the writer in residence for Victoria Magazine. And so they came out and shot my house for next year's Christmas issue. So that was stressful and fun. There's one thing getting your house ready for a party. There's another for getting it ready for a photo crew. As you know, it's like a whole thing. But the holidays were great. My sister-in-law, my nieces spent it with me. And then when it was over, on January 5th. I flew to Hawaii because my daughter was due with a baby, and it was perfect because we went out for 2 weeks. And the first week she didn't have the baby, and we just got to hang out with her. I got to go to her midwife appointment. I got to hang out with the little girls and play with them all the time and go to the museum and the park and do crafts. And then we were there for a whole week when the baby was born. So we got a week of just Megan and the kids, and then a week with a new baby. And she had a baby boy named Ronan. And my daughter had a home birth in a tub outside on her lanai under a starlit sky. And he was 10 pounds.
I can't even. I know.
I can't even with this baby.
Yeah.
He's so cute. I could just take little bites out of him. He's just like his 12-day-old picture looks like he's 6 months old. He's just such a big boy. So that was incredible. So that was a really good season. And in the next couple months, I mean, I have some speaking engagements. I have a paperback tour that we talked about earlier, only a week. But I'm going to be a couple things in Atlanta and then going down the Florida coast, like boom, boom, boom. And sadly, the only person I don't get to see during paperback tour is Kristy.
No.
I know. Nobody invited us to North Carolina. Come to Winston-Salem with me.
Like, how am I not on the paperback tour?
I know. I know. You must have been too busy for me. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
So I'm finishing up a book, the one I've been talking about for years. So you're talking about finishing a book in 6 months, Kristin. This one has taken me over 2 years to write, the one about the girl lost in the wilds of the Nantahala National Forest. And I'm really excited because I'll soon be able to announce title and pub date and all of that. But what an amazing holiday season everyone's had.
Yeah.
And so much to look forward to this year. And everyone out there, all 3 of these ladies have a hardcover new book coming out this year. And every single one of them, we need to go pre-order it right this very second. And you maybe even just do it through our spot at Oxford Exchange. But buy their books, damn it, because this year I don't have a new book out. So I'm just waving pom-poms for the new hardcovers.
Thanks.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
really
well,
excited.
and the good thing about the Oxford Exchange box is you can also add Patti's paperback.
Ooh, good
And if
point.
you've already read it in hardback, it doesn't matter because you can still give it as a gift.
Yeah,
and it has a new
Obviously,
cover.
you can drink, I have hiccups. My Fuji apple spindrift. But it's a great hostess gift. It's a great birthday gift. It's signed. Yeah. It's a first edition paperback. Or it's just nice to have the complete collection on your shelf. If you ask
You
me.
need the collections of all of us.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Our next live one is next week, which is really exciting. We get to do this again in a week, like the good old days when we were on every Wednesday night live. So
Wow. Makeup 2 weeks in a row.
I know. It's crazy. All right. I'm going to go eat some dinner. I love you guys.
Me too. Bye,
Love you
guys.
guys. Have a good night.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, everybody.